Hello everyone! In today's video, I wanted to share my personal experience and awareness about a topic that is not often talked about, the link between autism and eating. I've never had an eating disorder, but I will talk about how it can turn into an eating disorder. I am still passionate about this subject, even though I haven't got disordered eating diagnosed. As someone who has been diagnosed with autism and experienced eating issues, I understand firsthand the challenges that come with this combination. I have spent years learning about this topic, and I wanted to use my experience to shed light on the issue and help others who may be struggling. So if you or someone you know is affected by this issue or simply want to learn more, keep watching as I share my insights and tips for coping with these challenges. Let's dive in. Let's start off with talking about eating disorders and autism and how it can get to that extreme. Like, I've never had that extreme. I had a healthy virtue of being veggie because of my intense interest of being an animal lover. I got affinity with animals. Not eating meat didn't do my health any good, as a veggie is high carb, so I was living off sugar. I also in my teens was part fitting in. This comes from the copying part of autism. I was with teenage girls and body images. I was very depressed with another trauma going on at the time. So I created this strict routine of restricting calories. It became an unhealthy virtue. I couldn't get out of the routine. As my routine changed, I needed a new one. So I copied and observed other girls. Teenage girls are mad about their body image and having a model figure. It's more masking, but I say copying. It's kind of same thing, but the girls I was copying didn't seem to have an eating disorder. It was like what they were saying about looking like. I was 15 at the time. I was living at my dad's, getting emotionally abused, which didn't help. Copying and masking is the same, because we all mask to some extent, because neurotypicals even mask to fit in with society, what society tells them. So copying it's extreme. I ended up getting psychotic as my undiagnosed autism, lack of sleep, lack of food and abuse. A lot of professionals have put my first psychotic episode down to an autism crisis. I agree, but it is also trauma related to complex PTSD. Sometimes I wouldn't even eat my breakfast or evening meal and I just had a nibble for lunch. I would drink lots of water to fill me up. I developed polydipsia, which is caused by psychosis. As my delusions, I developed delusions, so that made me want to kill myself. Sorry, trigger warning. And I was diagnosed in my first psychiatric hospital. All my episodes since I have me having polydipsia every time. Not eating was getting repetitive. So that's an obvious autistic trait. The repetitive forms were intense interest in animals. I would get obsessed in exercises like plank work, 10 minutes at a time. I would go swimming and do 150 lengths in just over an hour. I would get insistent, and the only thing that would make me happy was a limited diet. I also just wanted to be like other girls and have their bodies. Copying other people is an autistic trait, and I would copy other people's goals, like exercise goals, routines, and what they think about themselves. Both positive and negative things. What I knew just observing my friends might not have an eating disorder, but they are healthy. Also, I felt I would be excluded in their world for being fat, as no one would like a fat friend. But in reality, that is not the case, and body image does not matter. We all come in different shapes and sizes, but society tells us to be thin, and fitting in is a big thing in my autism. Even neurotypicals fit in to a certain extent. But so I felt like I could take part in things being skinny when I was 15 years old. I was also depressed by my trauma. It came to the point I realised if I actually starved myself, my emotions would come numb. This is how I coped at the time of drawing the trauma, drawing the complex PTSD going on, undiagnosed. Even though I never had a real problem with food, textures of food, and picky eating, there's an eating disorder called avoidant restrictive food intake, ARFID, where a lot of people with autistic traits get diagnosed. At 15 years old, my experiences were more anorexia kind of traits, but I'm not diagnosed because I put it down, it's my autism. Because I had difficulty identifying emotions, otherwise known as alexithymia. This is how I starve myself to numb myself. I also struggle to understand physical sensations such as hunger and tummy ache, like internal. I don't feel much pain like when I hurt myself, but I can't feel internal pain. So in the present, I struggle to know when I'm full. But in the past, when I was 15, it was the hunger feeling. When I was in my first psychiatric hospital, they weren't not that autistic friendly at all. A sensory hell. There was aversion to bright fluorescent lights. Eating meals in group settings was so noisy and overwhelming. It took a while for me to adjust, but I eventually masked it and I continued to eat. My antipsychotics made me gain a lot of weight. At 16, initially I came to the hospital slightly underweight. Also, the group therapy, I didn't get much out of it at all. I found it too much. Mental health hospitals needs to change and be more autistic friendly. It is important for professionals to know about the link between eating disorders and autism. And let's go into some facts and statistics. Average age of anorexia diagnosis was 17, but average age of autism diagnosis was 29. Anorexia and autism may seem different, but in fact, they're not dissimilar. For me, in the past, I was focused and was in denial of being offered food sometimes. The denial part, maybe it was my PTSD being denial, but my autism, the denial part of it. My attention to detail was intense on the weighing scales and had to be a particular amount on it, even though I wasn't calorie counting, which also fits in being fixed on detail. Fun fact, both conditions like autism and anorexia also share similar changes in structure, function of brain regions which control social perception. People with eating disorders have favourite foods. Autism parents have an easy job cooking the same foods because we don't like change. But it gets restrictive as you are not getting the right nutritional that your body needs, so you need lots of supplements. I was on a multivitamin in my first psychiatric hospital, just fitting in with being veggie like everyone else, but I refused mushrooms because my cousin hated them, just fitting in. I copied people's likes and dislikes with food when people said it. I pretty much eat everything, but there's certain foods I still don't dislike. Like seaweed. I don't think many people like seaweed though. I was a veggie as I had an intense interest in animals and I couldn't bear the thought of eating meat. Recovery and adapting to change is hard, but with the right support and diagnosis, depending on autism or anorexia, depending on which path you go down, we can overcome it. If you found any of the information too much, please contact BEAT, a charity focused on eating disorders. Sometimes communication and social skills are hard. Also, so I hope you found this video helpful. So that's a wrap for today's video. Thank you for watching and for allowing me to share my experience and insights with you all. So if you or someone you know is struggling with an eating disorder or autism, remember that you are not alone. Seeking professional help is always a good idea, and there are resources are available to support you on your journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you have any other topics you would like me to cover, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.